Guys, good to be with you. X is down. We are not. La Flora Dominicana de Lajero. Why not? It's been a while. Guys, I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Smoke them if you got them. Let's go. So what's in an auto pen? You guys even know what the auto pen is? I mean, it's not an everyday term. It's understandable. I don't know your everyday terms. You know, you work in an industry where you could be talking about things with acronyms and all that. I wouldn't have a slightest idea. The auto pen is what the president uses to sign a whole bunch of crap. Tony Katz today. What are you doing? 833-468-8669, 833 got Tony. That's how you get to be a part of the show. And by the way, Twitter is down, or X, or Twitix as we call it, and everybody has lost their skull. It happens. We'll all survive. So the auto pen is what the president uses to sign. You're signing a whole bunch of thank you notes or whatever. You run it through the auto pen and it looks like your signature. The problem before us is whether or not the auto pen was utilized by the Biden White House to sign, well, you know, actual stuff, legitimate, authentic White House documents. We're not talking about a series of thank you notes that went, here, there, and everywhere. No, we're talking about the real deal. Legislation, memorandum. So the Heritage Foundation, their oversight project, looked at this and said there were executive orders that were signed by AutoPen. So, question, if that's the case, are those legitimate? Now you say to me, oh, Tony, here we go, trying to find a conspiracy. Let's take a moment to ask ourselves whether or not that argument holds. One would have to start with the baseline. We expect the president to be cogent and capable. We expect that a president, at any moment they are signing an executive order or anything that would have the full weight or effect of law or regulation, would be in a place where they could hold a pen in their hand and sign. Now, if they had some kind of physical encumbrance that made it impossible for them to sign, we would at least agree that they would have the capacity to show that they had the mental capacity to be signing that. So even if we had a president who didn't have the ability to utilize their arms, we would agree that that president would have to have the mental capacity to say, I know what I am signing, and I am signing it, even if they utilize the technology. So we could argue that a technology could be used, but that could only be used if the president was, well, capable of understanding what the bloody heck it was they were doing to begin with. Is that what happened in the case of Joe Biden? Or was Joe Biden, as we know, mentally incapable of doing anything? He had no idea where he was. I think it is so much worse than people say, and I am unrelenting on the subject. He had no idea he was president of the United States. None. Zero clue. Were these things signed without his knowledge? This is the question. This is the question. I put forth to you that it is absolutely possible, if not probable, having as little faith in this administration as humanly possible. I'm sorry, the Biden administration is humanly possible, It is absolutely possible that he was unaware of what it was that he was signing. It is without question possible, as a matter of fact, probable, and worthy of the most intense of investigations. And if indeed his signature did not appear on an executive order, absolutely, we should disregard that order. If his signature did not appear on a piece of legislation, we should disregard that legislation. I don't care what the Democrats want. I care that the rule of law is followed at all times. I care that we have a system and we hold to the system. That's what I care about. These are the things that matter. The other things don't come close. Well, everybody knows that's ridiculous to think that he wasn't aware of his surroundings. It's not only not ridiculous, it's the only thing that someone could come to. When I see Pete Buttigieg, the former transportation secretary, and a terrible transportation secretary, say to on Twitter, just to be clear, tariffs or taxes. Well, yeah, we've been saying so right here for a long time. Also, to be clear, Joe Biden wasn't cogent for at least the last 2 years of his presidency, and you said nothing. So nobody wants to hear you talk about tariffs being taxes or some hit on Trump. To hell with you. You weren't honest with America about the condition of the president of the United States. You should have been. If you cared about the country, you would have been. You weren't. You didn't. Don't ask me to pay attention to you now. Absolutely, the investigation should go forth. Absolutely, the investigation should go forth. And we should know whether or not Joe Biden, with a pen in hand, like this one, whether or not he, I don't know if he had, I don't know, maybe he had a Bic or not. He's got a little click action, click, sign. Was he awake when these things were signed? Was he in the Oval when they were signed? If it's the auto pen, was he at least in the White House when they were signed, or was he in Delaware? Was he awake, or was he? We have all that information. Let's get the logs. Oh, wait, we don't have that information? Is it the same that the Secret Service wasn't keeping track of who was coming to visit Joe Biden at the Delaware property? By the way, if people aren't paying attention to or keeping track of who's visiting Trump at Mar-a-Lago, I'd be infuriated. I want the TikTok. But I won't listen to progressives and tell me about, you can't ask about Biden. Was he awake when these things were signed? Because if he was asleep, if he was in nappy time, if he was on the beach doing his Jimmy Carter impression, those executive orders and that legislation absolutely should be cast aside. It didn't happen. It's not real. It's not real. And I think there are going to be people who say, my gosh, you just hate Biden so much. No, I believe in the standard. There are rules, and the rules have to be followed. If we don't have the rules, what do we have? Just like I'm aware, like you're aware, that it is obvious to all Americans, whether they will admit it out loud or not, that Joe Biden hasn't been running the country or didn't run the country for the last at least 2 years. Somebody else did. Some other cabal did. It's obvious. You only put them out there when you had to, and you actually thought you had to for the debate. And then, well, that didn't work out super. I'm happy to see that that the Heritage Foundation found some of this. And I want to know whether or not he signed it, authorized the signing, anything. I hope the investigation takes place. I truly do. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Guys, good to be with you. Tony Katz. So the whole Twitter thing. We can't even connect the live stream to it right now, which is always an issue. And people will be like, "Oh, look at Elon. He can't even run Twitter." I've got that story. Because I'm going to share with you the most despicable thing I've seen in a long time. You want to talk about how not to raise your children. You want to talk about how not to act, how not to be. This is it. Not yet. I'll get to it soon. Where in the world is? Oh, there it is. Got it. Let's see. Do I have this set up? Let's see if I can do any of this stuff.
You said that you have found leakers within DHS. And
let's see. Look at me. Oh, look at that. Christy Nome right there. How you doing, Secretary Nome? We'll get to it. Everyone just settle down. I'll be fine. What else? Well, I don't know. It's a busy day. Like there's a ton I want to get to, and I know I'm not going to get to all of it. I'm just fully aware I'm not going to get to all of it, which drives me nuts.
you said that you have found leakers within DHS and you're going to prosecute them. Back on February 9th, you tweeted, "The FBI is so corrupt. We'll work with any and every agency to stop leaks." Were you wrong then to blame the FBI if the leaks were from within DHS?
No, I think there's leakers all over throughout this government. I think that everybody needs to be, I think these in DHS specifically, these two were leaking our enforcement operations that we had planned and we're going to conduct in several cities and expose law enforcement to vulnerabilities, to those ops being jeopardized to where their lives would be in danger. So they will be prosecuted and they could face up to 10 years in federal prison because they did that. Anyone who is leaking information outside of how something is planned for the safety of those law enforcement officers needs to be held accountable for that.
And you're going to continue these polygraphing
absolutely
of employees?
The authorities that I have under the Department of Homeland Security are broad and extensive, and I plan to use every single one of them to make sure that we're following the law, that we are following the procedures in place to keep people safe, and that
she shouldn't be touching the microphone so much. It was driving me nuts. Aside from that, she's absolutely right. Of course, there are people leaking. You have people all across the government spectrum who believe that they should be in charge, that they know best, and that you, the electorate who voted for somebody as dastardly as Donald Trump, should not be trusted, and nothing should be within your purview or your control. They must protect you from yourself. This is their belief. Isn't that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page? Isn't that what's his name, Millie, telling the Chinese, "Oh, I'll let you know what Trump does"? That's what we are seeing again and again and again. And there's this constant refrain that comes up from the political left. Who is going to stand up to Donald Trump? Who, I tell you? What do you stand up how? What are you discussing here? And why are you saying it the way you are? Why do you think that somehow there have to be people in elected office or appointed whose job it is to try and stop Trump from being able to move forward his agenda. What a weird thing to do. Tony Katz today. Guys, great to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. These people are very, very weird. Where they think that it's somehow the job of the people who have been put into these cabinet positions and other places to try and stop Trump from doing his thing, his job that he was elected to do. These are weird people. Very odd, very strange people. And so the leakers are the ones who are out there saying that we have to thwart him. You have to go to jail is what you have to do. You're going to leak. You're going to go to jail. You're going to try and get in the way. You're going to go to jail. You're going to be one of these low rent, perfunctories who's going to let illegal immigrants know, hey, there's a raid coming. You better look out. Jail. By the way, I think they're all acts of treason. They're all designed to provide aid and comfort to an enemy. Now, you may not know the enemy that you're providing aid and comfort to, but if you're stopping the duly elected president from fulfilling their duties, you're giving aid and comfort to our enemies for that alone. I think we should have special accommodations for you in a jail cell or worse. Meanwhile, you've got Speaker Mike Johnson trying to move forward on this spending bill. The plan is to push a spending bill through September. And by doing so, get some of Trump's key positions funded, specifically defense spending. You absolutely want the defense spending taking place. It's a 99-page bill from Speaker Johnson. It would push spending through September 30th, and it would move defense spending above 2024 levels, and it would move all other spending about 8%, 7%, 8%. Yeah, 7-8% below the levels, 8% below 2024 levels. And the answer is, okay, terrific, wonderful, fantastic, sensational. I love it. The left is very upset because you can't lower spending for these very important programs. I put forth to you that these aren't important programs at all. I put forth that most of the programs are sizzling hot garbage. And most importantly, that in any situation, these things must be ranked. Again, we quote Thomas Sowell, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. And in these great trade-offs, we come to understand that you can't have everything. Some things just got to go. Some things just, sorry, that's not going to work. That's not going to fly. That program is not as important as this one. So, for example, if you are promoting safe sex somewhere, I'm not going to argue that safe sex isn't important and it lessens disease, which could lessen costs for you providing other services down the road, right? I agree. But having a navy to thwart the Chinese from having hegemony in the Pacific and maybe more dominance in Russia and other places, that's more important. Now, someone can disagree with me, and that's what elections are for. But there's no doubt that thwarting the Chinese and their growth of a navy is more important than stopping sexually transmitted diseases and name the place. I'm not saying that you want the sexually transmitted disease. I am saying our job is to rank the things. They have to be ranked. Hard decisions have to get made. And what we see from government is that they don't want to make any decisions, just spend on everything, no matter what it costs you, because they can't look at constituency in the eye and say, no, We're not doing this. We can't have this, can't handle this, can't afford this. That doesn't matter as much as this, and that's it. Oh, you're going to rally to vote me out? Okay, fine. I'm going to rally these people who recognize that I'm right and you're a fool. And that's no strength. Just say yes to everything and spend everything. Oh, you can't cut this, you can't cut that. What about the children and all the rest? More on defense and less on the non-defense. More on defense and less on the nonsense. It should really be less on the nonsense. And there could be some things within defense that are nonsense that we absolutely need to be cutting. So it's $892 billion in defense, $708 billion in non-defense spending. This is all going to run through September. And what Republicans are saying is, go on, Democrats, say no. We dare you to say no. Try us. We're feeling pretty good. And if we weren't feeling pretty good before the joint address Trump had in front of Congress, are we feeling good afterwards? We saw you couldn't even stand for a 13-year-old kid who beat cancer. No, not just a 13-year-old kid, a 13-year-old black kid who beat cancer. Democrats can't stand for. Holy cow. We feel great about 2026. We're putting all our chips down. Now come beat us on a spending bill. We dare you. We dare you to shut down the government. I like it. I like the approach. I like the push. I like it when they punch. It's excellent. MSNBC is everything that's wrong with America. And I will prove this by sharing with you some audio, some video that you have to share with your kids because they have to know why people like Michael Steele don't give good advice. This is Tony Katz Today. All right, so it says now we're streaming to Twitter, but Twitter's still not up. Is yours up, Producer Landon? Nope. It's back down again. All right, forgive me. Responding to some things. I'll be on Newsmax this evening at 6:20. I think it's N2 that I'm on tonight, I believe. So, looking forward to that. And I mean, this started yesterday with seeing this clip. I know I've seen people talking about the clip. It just blew my mind that someone could do this. And the lack of man that yeah, well, it starts with a defying gravity thing.
Isn't Elon Musk on?
Let's see. There it is. That's how I get myself prepared. I truly believe that you need to share this with your kids. I truly believe, and especially fathers. Fathers need to share this with their sons. More, not less than their daughters, but more than their daughters. No, share it with your daughters too. I was wondering if there was more of a sexism thing in there. No, Now, share it with your kids. Share it with your kids. It says, if ever I've shared a message that I think is important, it is this. It is this. And I will do the whole breakdown, every last bit of it. I think I've got my breakdown music. I should have my breakdown music. Stop singing, weirdo. Producer Landon is singing. Oh, I don't have it in here. Let me see if I can grab that in no time. Let's see. Now we're coming back to the radio show, guys. Let's go do this. Elon Musk sent a rocket up. Exploded 10 minutes in flight. None of this is easy. The booster, again, came back, was caught, and quite incredible, but the rocket exploded 10 minutes into flight. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. This is the second time it's happened. It's got to be rough. You have a team that you're trying to get this accomplished, and frustration. I share that with you to share with you what I heard and saw on MSNBC, and the imperative nature of this is that you share this with your children. It is important. Now, I will admit to you that when I mentioned it on social media, and I was talking about it on my morning show, I took it from the tact of fathers, you need to share this with your sons. But the truth is, dads, you need to share this with your kids. You need to share this because what Michael Steele has done here, who used to run the GOP, he was the head of the RNC, despicable, cheap, low, and the opposite of how you want your children to act, the opposite of what we want in society. Let's start with how MSNBC discusses the thing.
Defying gravity, but you know who isn't? Elon Musk. On Thursday, a SpaceX Starship rocket exploded just minutes into its test flight. The FAA temporarily stopped air traffic around Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Orlando. It is the second consecutive Starship test flight from Elon Musk's company to end with destruction.
All I could think about was
the flights that were diverted and delayed did upset some people, right? My gosh, why can't we land? Elon Musk has done it again. Why is he ruining my flight? Like people are weird. So while the panel of Simone Sanders and whoever that anchor was and Michael Steele are joking about this, and they're comparing things to Wicked, something that I played earlier in the show, this happens.
Y'all out there. Just as watching things blow up.
This is where you tell us that you start as Glinda in your
you better
production of Wicked.
No. But I've done a number of shows. But anyway.
Why did they let him put this rocket up in the air after they were still investigating the last explosion?
Well, so this is the thing. And that's probably why it exploded. But the thing to keep in mind is My suggestion for Elon, his response to all of this was rockets are hard. And Mr. Musk, if they're so hard, why don't you go back to your day job and work that out and leave those of us who do government to do government? Because you can't do both. And
you have to share that with your kids. You have to share how disgusting of a statement that is from Michael Steele. And Michael Steele's watching. It's a disgusting statement. You fail as a man. You fail as a person. You fail as a human being. Elon Musk is trying to go to Mars. And Elon Musk is trying to make this work. You don't mock that. You cheer it. You cheer the innovation. You cheer the creation. You cheer the spirit. Only the weakest people of the weakest minds who have never tried anything and have never created anything mock others for going out there and trying to make it happen. And that's you, Michael Steele. That's who you are. That's how low you are. You can't do both. You can't do your job. You can't make this happen. Let me mock you. Ha ha, ha ha.
If they're so hard, why don't you go back to your day job and work that out and leave those of us who do government to do government? Because you can't do both. And clearly you're failing right now at both.
I disagree. Every time a rocket explodes, one has to believe that they learned, okay, this didn't work. Okay, this didn't work. How many tries did Edison take at the light bulb? What was the expression? It's not that I failed so many times. I just learned how many ways it took not to make a light bulb. Who looks at the world like this? Ha ha, you can't, as opposed to we will learn from this and grow from this, which is the lesson we want to teach our kids all the time. We want people to be able to overcome failure, to get to the success. We want them to grow from it and build from it and learn from it. And here's Michael Steele, smug and pompous, a man who has created absolutely nothing. Now, maybe he had businesses and I'm wrong. Hold on. Maybe Michael Steele has had a huge career in the world of manufacturing or other creations. Nope, he was lieutenant governor of Maryland, chair of the Republican National Committee, worked at a law firm, was on a task force, ran for Senate, unsuccessful. Then went to work at MSNBC and a senior fellow at Brown University's Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs. I'm not opposed to any of those things, but let's be clear. At the end of the day, you have nothing you actually created with your own hands. They always mock Donald Trump. Oh my gosh, what a terrible businessman. If he had just invested his money, he would have had more money than if he had built all those buildings. These people are beyond ignorant. Donald Trump's ego, or whatever it is you want to call it, recreated the New York skyline, created thousands of jobs, and creates a tax base that brings in millions of dollars to New York every single day. And Eric Adams has created nothing, and Bill de Blasio created nothing. Nothing. Kathy Hochul didn't create the governor of New York a damn thing, and neither did Andrew Cuomo. Nothing. Trump created something with his mind from the ground up through a force of will. He wanted his name high in the sky. All right, that's what moved and motivated him. And New York benefits from his buildings every single day, and none of them even have the common decency to say thank you. But everybody who has a job at Tesla, everybody who has a job at SpaceX, everything that came from those creations, oh, sure, government subsidy, this and that. And we can argue that we don't want those things. But here we are right now with people trying to create and build. And here is Michael Steele, a do-nothing, mocking him, shaming him. When your kids fail, do you tell them, you're a failure? Or do you tell them to get back up, dust themselves off, and try again? What Michael Steele is advocating for is quitting. You failed, you should quit. You failed, we're going to mock you. And this is what keeps people from trying so many things. That fear of failure. That fear of not being great at it. That fear it doesn't work. And what's going to happen publicly. Guys, I work publicly every single day. Trust me, some things don't work out, and it happens in full view of the world. And the next day, here I am. You think I'm going to be deterred? Stopped? I have a desire. I have something that I'm trying to do, something I am creating, a place I do want to get to. Somebody telling me you're terrible, nobody's listening to you, means nothing to me. How could I let it? How could I let that person out there who hides behind a keyboard on social media affect me? How could someone like Elon Musk allow Michael Steele to affect him? The advice Michael Steele is giving is obscene. It's an obscene statement. It's not even an advice. Michael Steele wouldn't know how the first thing about creating a rocket, first thing about creating a car, first thing about creating anything. For example, ratings. He doesn't know the first thing about creating ratings. But he's the first guy to mock and tell someone to give up. Show this to your kids and say to them that this is terrible advice from a very bad guy by the name of Michael Steele. Do not give up. It doesn't work. Do it again. The entire history of aviation, if you listen to people like Bill Whittle, is based on people who are willing to put it all on the line, and they did. They put their lives on the line, and they died doing it, and other people were able to learn from those mistakes to be able to get better at it. And now, for all the issues of air travel, it is still an incredibly safe way to travel because of those who came before, who risked it all, and yes, failed. Oh my gosh. You've got the Articles of Confederation, United States. Up, that didn't work. You failed. Give up. Go back to England. I can apply this in any place. And if Michael Steele wants to argue that I'm not making sense, I perfectly understand what he said. He is such a cheap, craven, low man that getting a win and getting the dig and getting the pwn on PWN on Elon Musk was more important than being a rational, decent, normal person. Getting a dig on Elon Musk for the non-existent garbage audience he has at MSNBC was more important than standing up and saying, guys, it didn't work. We want this to be successful. Innovation takes time. It costs money. And innovation is not easy. Disruption is not easy. But you should stick at it, Elon Musk. I may disagree with you on 100 things, but keep at it. Because it's good for society. It's good to see people quite literally reach for the stars. But no, you couldn't do that. You weren't man enough to do that. You weren't decent enough to do that. Share this with your kids. Show them what kind of person Michael Steele is, and remind them of what kind of person they can be. They can be better. Be supportive of people trying things. Don't mock them. Don't shame them. There does come a moment in everyone's life where they realize they've given it the best shot and they can't do this thing anymore. They have to pivot. That is true. That's not what Michael Steele is saying here. Michael Steele is mocking. And it's everything you don't want your kids to do. Michael Steele is saying, give up. And it's everything you don't want your kids to do. Share this with your kids and tell them how wrong Michael Steele is, how cheap and how low Michael Steele is. And show them that when things are down, when the rocket explodes for the world to see, you build another rocket. You try again. And if he can do it on that scale, you can do it. Whether it's making the softball team or making the football team or making this, it might not work the first time. Keep at it. Get better. And even if you don't make it, did you leave it all out on the field? Did you give it everything you had? And if you did, okay. That one didn't work for you. Maybe this one will. The lesson here is beyond compare. And there's another lesson. It is amazing to think that MSNBC got rid of Joy Reid to put this guy in a show. That network still has not learned. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. I love that I'm now getting emails. What have you created, Tony Katz? I was talking about Michael Steele. Well, I've created jobs with what I do here. I've created jobs, help other people create their businesses with what I do in the world of merchant services, a business I took over from my late father. And I am not mocking people for trying to create things. I'm not telling them that they're failures and they should quit. If anything, I'm encouraging them to keep going regardless of their political party. That's what I'm doing. I love when people want to play that game without recognizing what it is that actually happened. What Steele did was just purely evil. A despicable and daft thing to say. And wrong. And I think there's a great lesson for your kids there. A great lesson indeed. Meanwhile, we are gathering on April 17th for Trump, an American reset in 3 bourbons. You gotta be there. You gotta come check it out. It's going to be so good. The bourbon, the food, the cigars. We are going to laugh our faces off. Come on out to Kokomo, Indiana. April 17th. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. Trump and American Reset in 3 bourbons. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so much fun. Oh, I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Starting to get everything together now, working out I've got a basic idea of the structure, and I'm putting that all together, and we do it with a lot of audio, video. Oh, cannot wait. It's going to be so good. Gonna be so good. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. It's right there. All right. It's actually over here. It's over here. Like here. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. Get your tickets. I'd appreciate that. Look forward to seeing you there. All right, we're coming back to the radio show. Music in 5 seconds. So is Twitter back up? Who cares? So there's a story about how Israel is cutting off the electricity to Gaza. And the people who are supportive of terrorists will say, how terrible, how dare Israel do that? You mean they've been at war for a year and a half? Hamas has held Israelis as hostage and Americans and others. They've killed children, and Palestinians have protected them. And Israel is still providing these people power? Does anybody else think that's insane? That's unbelievable. That is amazing. The one of the many reasons to drop out of the United Nations, to walk away, is that it is filled with these horrible, horrible despots who want you to believe that Israel is in the wrong. These are people who are willing to give up known terrorists in order to get back dead bodies. Who really values life here? It's the Israelis. They're at war. They're keeping the lights on? That's unbelievable. By the way, I believe Israel is gearing up for recognition that you're not going to get the rest of these hostages back, that you cannot trust any deal, that Hamas has been refortifying, and this war will start. I'm surprised it hasn't started back up already, but I expect it any second. This is Tony Katz today. All right, guys, we're going to take the break. Smoke them if you got them. Why aren't you having this shindig at the Cocoa? Oh, you mean the Cocoa Motel? There's a motel in Kokomo called the Cocoa Motel, right? Yeah, that's what Matt was asking right there. And because I'm not, it's gonna be really good though. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. We're gonna take the break because the radio show is in break. We're a bit of a shorter show, live stream today, but we're still going on. So glad you guys are here, and we will be back momentarily. Smoke them if you got them. Be right back. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. How's that? Not good? Much better. Good to be with you. Smoking, as I said before, from La Flor Dominicana, the Lajero right there. So I made a mistake with my humidor yesterday. I was adjusting humidity because as it gets warmer out, right? It's warmer in the studio. You make changes, temperature changes. And so mine is electric. And it's like this refrigerated unit. It's massive, and I, in my head, had brought the humidity down a little bit, and I didn't realize that I'd gone too far and I'd recycled. And I woke up this morning and I take a look, and humidity is at 80%. No, that is not what you want. And I said, oh, this can't be good. So I opened it up, right? Get some humidity out, get a little dehumidifying going on there. Everything will be fine. But I'm glad that as a matter of course, I go and I look and I check, because that could have been really ugly. I mean, truly, truly ugly, and the loss of a lot of cigars. I just placed a very large order. Yeah, well, it's kind of what we do around here. So that's it. Meanwhile, you've got JD Vance scheduled to speak later today. I'll probably get to that tomorrow because it's going to be later, and who knows what's going to be on time and not. In the meantime, are we aware of what's happening to Syrians? Specifically, are we aware of what's happening to Christians? Because there's a story here. There is a very large story here. So I've got that. Get rid of that. I've got this. All right. So we're coming back in 30 seconds. Appreciate you guys being here. Let me get that back up. Beautiful. And I don't know what's going on with Twitix, if it's still up, if it's still down, if it's back up. I have no clue. All I know is for people who spend their lives on social media, it can't be good. Which is why we have radio and live streaming, people, because, there's more than social media to the world.
I want to get some more on all these major new developments. Joining us now, Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She sits on the House Budget Committee. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. As you know, the minority leader, the Democratic leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, is strongly opposing this temporary funding bill to keep the government open and operating, spending money through the end of September. Some Democrats have privately discussed supporting it. Can you tell us where you stand?
Yeah, I mean, I think Leader Hakeem Jeffries is very clear that we cannot support a continued resolution when Republicans who control the House and the Senate have not made any effort to negotiate with us on what the CR would look like. We know that there is.
No one has to negotiate with you, Ilhan Omar. You want the government open, yes or no? It's totally up to you. I hope you lose, and I hope the Republicans get this done. But the idea that there are Democrats who want to keep the government up and running has to do with the fact that Trump is popular in their district, and they have got to think about re-election as members of Congress, and some of them as senators. Tony Katz today. So good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Appreciate it if you do that. The undeniable force, undeniable, in these districts, forcing Democrats to have to make changes, just like you saw at the end of the election season in 2024, when you saw people like Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, John Tester of Montana, all trying to make a change about how they're close with Trump or they'll do this, they'll do that, and none of it worked out. And now you have this kind of fascinating moment in the world of a transgenderism, where they're all speaking in this new language. Before it was all about how we're not going to stop boys from playing in girls' sports. We're going to let the kids play and do all this. And now it's a conversation of, well, this is really, a local issue, and this should be handled locally. And we shouldn't get involved here because this is a local issue. One after another. All of a sudden, they have found their talking point, which is leave us alone. We know this is a loser, a massive, massive loser of a conversation. We know that we don't want any part of this. We know how unpopular it is, but our constituencies are so freaking nuts that there's nothing we could do about it. This was Elisa Slotkin.
Senator, do you agree with Governor Newsom?
Well, look, I think, you'll have to talk to Mr. Newsom and his podcast, and we're all talking about it now because it's, good controversy. For me, I grew up playing 3 seasons of sports. In Michigan, sports is like our religion, right? I wouldn't be here, I think, without the leadership training that I got in women's sports. But for me, it's like, let the local community figure this out, right? In Michigan, we have a process in place where if someone who's born a boy wants to play in women's sports, you have to get a waiver. No waivers. Let them figure it out. And this all stemming from that Gavin Newsom podcast, where he said, it's boys playing in girls' sports. That's fundamentally unfair. You believe Gavin Newsom? You're crazy if you believe Gavin Newsom. That's just flat out nutty. Wouldn't believe anything that man says. You only have to look at what it is that he does. To that end, let us take a look at Syria, where right now you have over 1,000 Christians and Alawites being killed by the Syrian Islamists. When Israel decimated, you could say it was larger than decimation, Hezbollah through the pager attack and everything else, well, that allowed the Islamists to take over. Bashar al-Assad fled for his life, and the Islamists took over. Immediately, you heard from people like those in the Druze community, D-R-U-Z-E, asking Israel to please annex them because they knew in Israel they could live in peace. They wouldn't be attacked, they wouldn't be hunted down, and they wouldn't be killed. But by Islamists, that's the only thing that was going to happen. Because this is what Islamists do. One could say, my gosh, Tony, that's so offensive. You're such an Islamophobe. To those people, I would say, stop talking. Don't find yourself in a position to defend the Islamist. Because I have got 1,000 dead Christians and others. The Alawites. By the way, Assad was an Alawite. At the hands of radical Islamists. There are 2 things to note here. First of all, you cannot have a society that lives in peace with Islamists. It is impossible. Let's stop pretending that you can, and let's stop saying that somehow it is Islamophobic to mention. Islamophobia is nonsense. It's a silly term. A fear of Islam? Oh no, a fear of dying, maybe. What we are discussing are the facts on the ground. And the facts on the ground say Islamists will kill anybody who is not a Muslim.
Ergo, it is not a phobia to note it. It is the rational course to note that Islamists cannot exist with the rest of the world because they don't believe in the rest of the world. They believe in only them and them alone. Submit or die. Pay the jizya. We have to create the caliphate. This is who they are. And my question for Christians is, when do we start hearing some very loud voices? On my live stream, you got John there saying they want a genocide of Christians. Well, I would argue it's bigger than that. Because I think you would agree, right? Because I'm not out of hand disagreeing with you. What they want is everyone to be like them. All followers of Muhammad, all Muslims. That's what they want. And anybody who doesn't is therefore a heathen or a non-believer or whatever it is you wanted to call it, and has to be destroyed. This is who they are. Whether they're Christian or whether they're Jews, we talk about October 7th, the attack on Israel. Of course, Hamas, a terrorist organization, wants dead Jews. And so, by the way, do the people who attend Columbia University. And thrilled to see that this guy is going to be deported. I'll get to that. These college students playing make-believe, and we're going to take over a building, and we stand with the Palestinians. You stand with terrorists. Sadly, too many Palestinians also stand with terrorists. You have hostages in Gaza and Palestinians helping to help Hamas keep them private, keep them hidden. It is obvious what the Islamist wants. It's obvious what's happening, and it's obvious that the attack of Hamas on Israel was clearly about Jews, but that's not where they end. It's not where they end. Reality is reality. The Islamist is incompatible with Western civilization and human society as a whole. As a whole, that's it. There's nothing else. They've proven it. Let's stop wasting time. Let's stop wasting time with this idea that somehow to note this is wrong or bigoted. It is neither wrong nor bigoted. It is the only normal course. Just like it is normal to note when members of Congress have lost their minds, like Representative Jasmine Crockett.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why they're so frustrated, because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers. They want them to go and round people up on civil accusations.
I do a thing where when I hear somebody being completely insane, and I find myself losing my mind. These people are so ridiculous and embarrassing, and willfully and joyfully ignorant. That what I do is, the television show Taxi? You know that show? The theme to Taxi, I find very, very soothing. So I find myself when I've had enough with these ridiculous, silly people. I find myself playing this. There's something about the flute. Just so relaxing. You listen to that for a little while, and you're like, my God, Jasmine Crockett's out of her damn skull. But at least now I don't have to scream and use 4-letter words about it. It's not a criminal act.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally.
Does she want to make the argument that it's not criminal but civil? Is as a matter of the law? Is this her argument? But go on, make that argument to America. Keep telling America that it's totally fine to enter the country illegally. By the way, not a crime to enter illegally. Not a crime. Illegally. And then you get yourself all crazy again. You just start. I'm telling you, it's very helpful. It's totally helpful. It's my let's bring it down a notch kind of tune. Oh, these people are embarrassing. These people are embarrassing. Can't admit that illegal immigration is bad. Can't admit that Islamists are incompatible with Western civilization. When you can't do those two things, you can't give these people power. You can't put them in charge of anything. All of a sudden you realize voting maybe does matter. Maybe it matters a lot. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Oh, Twitter is back up. Look at you. Super neat. Let's see where we are. Hold on a second. Hal, one of my favorite trolls. Hey, Hal. Why are Republicans protecting sex traffickers, the Tate brothers? Are they afraid they will talk? I don't know why anybody is celebrating the Tate brothers. I don't know why Dana White's giving them a hug. I don't know why Mario Lopez is there. What I will tell you is I don't listen to anybody who is okay with the mutilation of children like the progressive left have any lectures for me. So, Hal, we can agree that I don't have any room for the Tate brothers in my life, and I don't understand why it is that people are like hanging out with them. I don't do the math there. It's not for me. But until you do, all of those in education and in the medical field who desperately want to mutilate children and abuse children, no lectures. Yeah, I don't get the Tate brothers thing in the slightest. Not interested at all or in any way. Checking real quick, just checking some news right here, seeing if there's anything new going on. I have so much happening today. Including the Canadian election and Health and Human Services, doing a buyout. I've got the worst headline of the day. That is coming up. My interview on the radio side with Carrie Pickett, and on the radio side, it won't be on the live stream. LeBron. Looking up to LeBron James is just weird at this stage of the game. Just super weird. But I do have a bunch of Trump on the economy in that conversation with Maria Bartiromo. Let me find that. Okay, we'll start here. Perfect. Also appreciate appreciate the comments. Keep those coming. Love those. Love seeing those. Yeah, because of the Twitter issues, not as many people watch it because we do get a lot from Twitter. And I've always known that the interesting thing about YouTube is that they have not taken anything off. They haven't done anything that, at least to me yet, that would I think satisfy the requisite for me being deplatformed. Nothing. There have been some things they've demonetized because I'm sharing other people's content and stuff, which I can do on the radio side, and maybe they have issues with. Like, I don't get bothered by that, but not for content. I'm not being in any way bothered for content, which I'm happy to see. Which means I need to push a little bit further, I guess. I would assume that's the case. All right, back to the show. Here we go.
You said, look, we're going to have a disruption, but we're okay with that. Is that what you meant? The stock market going down was the disruption? What other disruption were you alluding to?
Look, what I have to do is build a strong country. You can't really watch the stock market. If you look at China, they have a 100-year perspective. We have a quarter. We go by quarters.
That's true.
And you can't go by that. You have to do what's right. What we're doing is we're building a tremendous foundation for the future. Tremendous foundation.
You guys know I'm not a tariff fan. Tariffs and taxes, I'm out. Blanket tariffs are nutty. Reciprocal tariffs, I can understand. And I have made the argument repeatedly that Trump needs to explain his position and get America on board that, yes, this may go up and that may go up, but if we do this, here's how it's better for your kids. We do this thing over here, here's how it's better for your future. If he does that, people will follow. I believe that to my soul, that he just needs to spell it out there. This interview with Maria Bartiromo, I thought was telling, because his commentary here is dead on. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. Absolutely, positively, China looks at things in a long-term way. The United States does not. And so when I take a look at tariffs are small ball. Tariffs are tit for tat. Tariffs are raise the cost of everything. And I don't know if they're going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country.
Credibility. Go ahead. What else?
President, Robert, go ahead. Americans who have seen their retirements or accounts fall in recent days, they're getting very nervous about these tariffs.
People talking about retirement accounts falling, retirement accounts
as a country. It's going to make our country rich again. We have many companies, as you know, auto companies are opening up plants now. We've had 4 or 5 announced already, but many more are coming. And we're basically going to take back the money, a lot of the money that we've given away over many decades. We've lost our jobs. We've lost our factories. We've lost 90,000 factories since the beginning of NAFTA. It's not that long ago. 90,000 factories. Think of that. And we're going to get them back. And they're coming back. And they're coming back.
Now, I believe from these two commentaries where he says tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. And talking about the companies that are now moving here. Plants are moving here. Factories are moving here. And this discussion about not looking at the stock market because China thinks in 100 years and we think in a quarter, right? 3 months. That this is where Trump, in this kind of haphazard way, I don't want to have to be the guy who puts this together, but I'm putting it together, is laying out an economic strategy. And it's more than a strategy, it is a philosophy. And Trump is not a guy who does philosophy. Trump is a very simple dude. The first rule of Trumpism is Trump wins. The second rule of Trumpism is that a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. I coined those rules. Those rules are still accurate. But within these two conversations in this disjointed way, he is laying out a political philosophy, an economic philosophy that tariffs will allow us to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Once it is here, it is not so easily removed. And that manufacturing over the long term creates our dominance. And the tariffs are the way to build the dominance and pull it away from China. It is the first time I have heard him put together what can be described as a political theory. Here is how we combat China in their 100-year thought process. We create our own. And we create our own through an upheaval now in the short term. Now, that short-term upheaval means you pay more. That short-term upheaval means that your 401k gets the crap kicked out of it. It does. To say otherwise is nuts. And yes, I oppose blanket tariffs. And I agree with you. I had to take two separate things. One, a gaggle on Air Force One. The other one, an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business. And I had to put them together to say, okay, is this what he's saying? I think this is what he's saying. And I think for the first time, and we may get more of this, he is really engaging a philosophy. I think that this can be done without tariffs. He clearly feels that it moves faster with tariffs, even with the pain. Try not to talk about the pain. It'll be gone and we can move forward. And look what remains. I'm starting to think I'm more right than wrong on this, but time will tell. Let's see how many more companies come our way. This is Tony Katz today. Guys, I appreciate you being a part of the live stream. A little shorter today than normal. It's not because I don't love. Trust me when I say, if I could, I'd spoon with all of you. I'd be the outside spoon. I would do it, and I would do it joyfully. That's a little weird. I think we've had enough of that. Guys, you're appreciated. I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show. Don't forget tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com for Trump and American Reset in 3 Bourbons. This is taking place in Kokomo, Indiana on April 17th. Come on out. Come on out. Buy a ticket for a friend. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Be a part of it. I'd greatly appreciate it if you were. I can't thank you guys enough for being here and being a part of what we're doing. I'll be back tomorrow. You guys take care.